Chris's certification. There we go.
Oh, God, that's nice.
All right. Well, we're not in the Delta Sky Lounge now, but we're here on LinkedIn Live. So I'm Dan Mallin, a 5-time entrepreneur, along with my business partner, Scott Littman. We've taken 5 companies from idea through to exit, been E&Y Entrepreneurs of the Year, and founders of the Minnesota Cup. Today, I want to share Birthing of Giants, which has been around for over 20 years, but we're launching a regional cohort program in Minnesota. And this will leverage the proven curriculum, joined with world-class speakers and visionary entrepreneurs that we'll bring together. The program is 12 quarterly sessions over 3 years and an intensive fellowship week. Mark O'Donnell, the visionary of EOS, says EOS helps business owners realize their visionaries, but Birthing of Giants shows you what to do now that you're in the visionary seat. Mm-hmm. So let me introduce my 2 guests today. I've got Lewis Schiff and Chris Quinn. Lewis is the chairman of the board of experts for Birthing of Giants. He founded Inc. magazine's Owners Council, where he interviewed some of the most accomplished entrepreneurs in the world. He has authored or co-authored several books on success, and over the past 2 decades, he built and sold 2 media businesses to publicly traded companies. Chris Quinn is a seasoned leader whose career spans military service as a Marine infantry officer, executive roles in global healthcare companies, and entrepreneurial success in consulting and talent development. He is the founder of Imprint Talent Readiness and a top performer for peer group and peer group leaders. Chris is a trusted advisor to CEOs and senior executives. So, gentlemen, welcome.
Thanks, Dan. That was some beautiful, colorful introduction.
You know, some of the best texts that ChatGPT can write about you, about the 2 of you.
Right. Well, you know that ChatGPT is sort of naturally optimistic about everybody and everything anyway.
Well, you know, for Chris, I had to say, turn up the optimism, but other than that, that's a good thing. So I'm just going to ask you guys a few questions about the regional cohort program and try to, share some content and information and help people learn a little bit more about what we're up to. So Lewis, what purpose does this regional cohort serve?
So there's a handful of angles or dimensions to a business owner's journey. One of them is that they spend most of the day with people other than business owners, vendors, clients, employees, and those folks. I have a little saying, which is, you're always on their to-do list, okay, and they're always kind of pecking at you. But business owners don't naturally spend that much time with other business owners, so they need to actually make it happen. And so that comes together in a few ways and for a few reasons. One is they need each other. Business owners need their peers to talk about challenges and opportunities and just sort things out. 2, they need a facilitator, a gifted leader who's one of their own. That's what you and Scott are, Dan, that you are from the community. You're accomplished entrepreneurs. You're as accomplished as anybody you'd ever find. And you're there to support those, let's call it 15 or 20 people from getting the most out of their time together. And then the Birthing of Giants Regional Cohort Program layers on top of that about a 20-year roadmap development of how businesses scale. And what do we mean by scale? It really means that the world is changing. There's a lot of money sloshing around in the form of private equity. There's a lot of activity in what we call the lower middle market, which is where most of our companies are. And there's so much work that needs to be done, so much thinking that needs to be processed. And so that roadmap is a good fit for how you cross that chasm, which I think we'll talk a little bit about that roadmap today. And so between needing your peers and needing pros like you, Dan, and needing some expertise in the form of Birthing of Giants, which sort of lays on top of the whole thing, and the tools that help you turn ideas into reality. These are very often, or at least in our world, they're driven by AI platforms now. That's the business owner's toolkit, in our opinion. And we have the receipts to prove it. We have, dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of success stories where companies came in, sometimes with no value or little value, and ended up very, very valuable. And it's a process. And business owners work so hard, they should get that support that they need.
Awesome, thanks. Chris, tell me how this is different from peer groups.
No, it's a great question. And I've been on both sides. I attended the Birthing of Giants Fellowship Week, got exposed to the content and got excited about it because I saw some things that were very unique from what I was experiencing leading peer groups. I think the first part is there's a roadmap with robust curriculum, very much intentional application to a cohort member's business. Every time you get together, you're not learning things that take you in a different direction. You're learning things that add to what you're already building. And as Lewis calls it, it's kind of, layering your strategy, or scaffolding is a learning term, but it's basically building on, not building, tangentially. So I think that's really important. And I think the curriculum's the glue that does that, one of the big pieces of that. And I was very impressed when I got exposed to the content at Birthing of Giants Fellowship Week and some of the tools and frameworks. And I've seen a lot of them in my day. And I thought they were very pragmatic and very high utility in terms of bringing them back and actually being able to, apply them fairly quickly to some, and gain some insight from doing the thinking around it. The other thing is it's a defined time period. This program is, sometimes we kind of refer to as an entrepreneurial MBA. It's really an up and out program. It's not, evergreen. There's a beginning and an end, and that's intentional too, to get, very much a stress or tension on, gaining momentum and making decisions to advance your strategy across the 3 1 year from today's. So you'll be a different company and a different leader from when you start the program to the end because of that, intense 3-year focused program. The beauty of it for me was the chance, because it's quarterly, you have a chance to go back and apply and iterate. And I think adult learning, studies will tell you that adults learn by doing and applying. And I think that's a big part of the experiences. Between every session, you're applying it to your business. You have a very intentional, accountability actually to what you're supposed to do and come back and report back. But it's all about making moves in your business and gaining momentum on your layers of strategy, what's called the 1 year from today, which Lewis will talk about in a little bit. The fellowship week's unique. The whole idea of coming to that cohort, halfway through the program, going as a cohort up to Princeton and actually joining cohorts from around the country and getting new eyes on your strategy, which is always interesting. People that aren't blinded by familiarity, they haven't been with you, so they get a fresh look at your strategy, and you get some really critical thinking. You get to stress test it again with new audience and new experiences. So I think that's really, a key differentiator that's really, I think, impactful. And the thing that Lewis said, which you represent, Dan, you and Scott, is this is a program led by post-exit entrepreneurs. You're not coaches, you're post-exit entrepreneurs. And I always joke a little bit. It's like if I went to, Mount Everest and I was going to climb it, I want the Sherpa who's got, lost a few fingers to frostbite and, maybe a few teeth from falling down on rocks. I don't want the guy who's fresh faced and goes, hey, this is exciting. I can't wait to do this for the first time. I think I want someone to lead me, and I want someone, to lead the cohort who's done what you guys have done, 4 successful exits or 5 exits. Because I think that brings I joke a little bit, the left brain, right brain. The quantitative part of it, which is important, but you also understand the emotional part. There's a lot of identity. There's a lot of, emotion tied up to this, business that an entrepreneur's, created. And unless you've walked in those shoes, it's hard to relate to. So I think that is probably one of the most important aspects of this program and one of the key differentiators. And the last thing I'll say is, and this is very true, even though, we have a lot of tools and processes and methodologies that owners will get exposed to, they are oftentimes the rate limiting factor for their company's ability to change. And I think the big part of this experience, which is akin to the peer group and maybe a little different because you have that strategic red thread that runs through every session. So I can know your strategy better because I'm following that thread with you every time we get together. I can do a better job of giving you feedback. I can do a better job of being a critical thinker because I understand the strategy. I've seen the continuity of it as it's been built in the cohort. I can help you raise that ceiling. I can help you kind of get out of your own way by giving you feedback and, and holding you accountable. So I think accountability is really going to be a part of this experience but it's accountability focused on this scaffold or stacking of these 1 year from today strategies, which I think is going to be powerful.
Awesome. Just in the process of learning and participating to get to today, just love the curriculum and the fact that we are doing something and it's proven and we'll be able to deliver that to everybody who's involved. Lewis, tell us what the sessions look like. We have 12 sessions over 3 years. What does that look like for all the participants?
Sure. Let's bring up that slide. Yeah. So the day is it's 1 day a quarter, 12 days over the course of 3 years. But what's interesting about being 1 day a quarter is, if a quarter is 90 days, you're probably very tactical for 89 of those days. 1 day a quarter, you get real strategic. And the way that strategy reveals itself on this one full day is it's cut up into 4 equal parts. The first is experience and wisdom sharing. What that means is you always have something on your mind when you're coming into the room. You have a challenge, an opportunity. You've got, a dozen really smart people plus Dan and Scott guiding the conversation. You can access the group. You can say, here's my challenge, here's my opportunity. This is the thing I'm working on or thinking about right now. It's a real-time, issue solving approach. And so part of the day is made up with the group just addressing the big issues on their mind. Then you have a deep dive with a special speaker. So this is going to be somebody, one of the really gifted entrepreneurs that have grown companies and executed and exited, coming in to talk about some aspect of what you're on the roadmap to learn. It might be an expert in acquisition. It might be an expert in building the dream team. They're coming in with expertise to talk about the very thing that you're working on and maybe struggling with. And they spend a couple hours walking you through methodology on that. The third part of the day is a 3-year growth roadmap. So this is a 3-year curriculum with 12 sessions. That's basically akin to a college semester. And during those 3 years, we cover your company in depth. We cover the economy, capitalism, the marketplace. Why is the world changing into the world it's becoming right now? And then the third is we cover leadership and your own growth as an entrepreneur. And so all of those things add up to value in your company. And then the fourth and last is where all the accountability takes place. It's called OYFT, or 1 year from today, which is really 12 months is the intersection between strategy and tactic. What that means is that to do anything that you want to get done 12 months from now, you have to think strategically. It's going to be something worth spending a year working on. At the same time, to get it done, you're going to have to boil it down to 90 days or even 30 days, and you have to get real tactical about it. So that 1 year from today that you're working with the facilitators, the cohort leaders, Dan and Scott, and also working with your peer group on, that's really where the rubber meets the road. And then we have a process called strategy stacking, which is where you're looking forward. That's the 1 year from today. And you're looking backwards. That's what we call the Buffett benchmark. It's a practice done by Warren Buffett for 50 years, which is a way of essentially assessing and evaluating what has worked in the past in order to inform what you're going to do in the future. And you stack those 1 year from today's. During the course of our 3-year program, you will do 3 1 year from today's, and your company will move phenomenally over those 3 years.
I love that. And I love the motion, like we're tracking motion, the accountability word, which is, it's an EOS concept, but it's a general concept. We need more accountability to ensure that we are getting where we say we're going to be, and understanding that and mapping it out is just an awesome component of what we're doing. Tell us a little bit more about the Birthing of Giants process and kind of the key components there.
Sure. So we have this framework that has been, tested and battle tested for a solid 10 years now. And what's important about that is that, the entrepreneurship world and the business, what's called the lower middle market, which is where we all play, has changed quite a bit in the last 25 years. I mean, really, it's gone from the sort of neighborhood that nobody really wants to go into the sort of belle of the ball, best neighborhood in town. And so the capital markets, these are private equity firms and other bigger companies than ours, are in this kind of acquisition mode. And we're getting these phone calls. And the truth is there is a very interesting and potentially life-changing game happening. But a lot of entrepreneurs are frankly screwing it up because they don't know that there's a framework that you can use to maximize it. But even if you're not selling, that's not even the point, because you want to build a company that's so valuable that other people want to buy it. You want to build a company that you love running. The most valuable company is the one that is not for sale. Like that's the one you want to build. So it's in 6 parts. We call it 6 steps to a bigger business. And it all rolls up into kind of reinventing your value proposition. Look at like this. You're in the room because you've built a business of scale. You've gotten somewhere. You've got millions of dollars of revenue, clients, employees. You've got infrastructure. You've got financial systems. You've got a going concern. Now, what really matters, though, is whether you can keep scaling it. A lot of entrepreneur-driven companies never get past a certain point because they're too dependent on that one person in the center. In our world, the 6 steps go like this. Step 1 is what we call PREP: profits, revenues, and exit prices. This is the constant obsession of every business owner. This is, if you ever ask someone who owns a restaurant how their week is going, they're only ever going to answer the question and how many reservations they have that week. That's all they're thinking about. Profits, revenues, exit prices. Profits, revenues, exit prices. So we start here with you. We start by evaluating, what your current profits, revenues, and exit prices strategy is. And we basically look for its strengths and weaknesses, because a lot of times you want to build on what's working already, and it's, as I think Chris mentioned, it's easier to see what you're the limiter on when other people evaluate. And I want to share that Dan and Scott have these profits, revenues, exit prices tools at their disposal. So if anyone listening to this says, well, let me see what that step 1 looks like, all they have to do is follow the steps that Dan and Scott lay out. Step 2 is what's called the 3-leg stool, familiar concept in business. Every one of our businesses is a combination of labor, technology, and cash, one way or another. If you look at the next step, 4 levers, it's money, model, management, and market. So there's basically every change you're going to make to the 3 legs of your stool, your labor, tech, cash, model, are going to come by applying these 4 levers of money, which is really how the capital markets look at your business; model, which is how your financial model is built and how it can be altered; market, which is who do you serve, what products and services you provide, who else is doing it, what can you do about them, can you acquire them, how can you price your products and services for maximum impact; and then management, which Dan and Scott are experts in as EOS implementers, is that they're the half a dozen people who structure your executive team. I mean, they are your ride or die in terms of getting this job done. And your company becomes much more valuable the better your team you build. And so those 4 levers get pulled to alter the 3 legs: labor, tech, and cash. All of that gets captured in OYFT, 1 year from today. It's a strategic framework for applying your thoughts to an accountability kind of a roadmap. And then we take that 1 year from today as time goes by, and we stack them up on top of each other. That's strategy stacking. So we're constantly looking backwards and looking forwards at the same time. And then this last one, Dan, which is called outcomes, is kind of the most important one, which is, where are you going, right? Like, are you trying to build the biggest company ever? You're going to go public and change the world. Are you trying to build a nice little business for yourself that's profitable, that gives your family a really great experience and, could make millions and millions of dollars of profits, but you're not looking to be like, the next captain of industry. You just want to run a really great business. And in between running the biggest business ever and running a nice, great, profitable business is what we call a giant exit. A giant exit is, I want to be out of here in 3 years or 5 years. What's it take to build the best company that's the most valuable? So whether you want to build a small giant, which is, you're the queen or king of your castle, the big giant, I think of as like you're the general of an army, or that giant exit where you want to exit with big dollars. It really, for our process, it doesn't matter which you choose, but what matters to you is you have to have a destination so that we can apply the roadmap appropriately. And so prep, 3-leg stool, 4 levers, 1 year from today, strategy stacking, outcomes, all of that adds up to value proposition transformation. In other words, the way you deliver value to your customers will change once you apply those 6 steps, and it'll change it in the ways that matter most. It'll create more profit, more revenue, the value of your company will go up, and your company will be easier to run. That's the goal for everybody.
It's a whole lot of motherhood and apple pie, but I really do like that it's not focused just on exits, right? The idea is, and actually we had great advice from a mentor, an investor in previous companies, Skip Gage, who just said, build a good business, the value will come. And that's what this is about. It's ensuring you're doing the right things along the way, building a good business. And then if exit's the goal, that's great. But if cash flow is the goal, that's great. Whatever, it's what you want. And but it's also about understanding what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Which is important.
So cool.
Yeah.
And so, Chris, we Lewis just shared this awesome faculty.
Yeah.
We have a dozen people coming and access to even more advisors and things. How do our members get to leverage that?
Yeah, no, I mean, one of the most compelling aspects of being part of the Birthing of Giants community is the access to the experts, the board of experts, the faculty. I mean, they're all incredibly talented and seasoned practitioners, not academics, people that have actually done it and can, therefore relate to the members. So, and there's just, I would say that one thing that impressed me too was in the community, the fellows, the people that graduated from Fellowship Week, how accessible some of those have moved into board of advisors and are available to their former peers and have kind of turned the corner. Maybe they're further down the path, but they make themselves available. It's an incredible network. I've leveraged it already. I've connected people with people like Doug Tatum, wrote the No Man's Land. I've connected people with him, and he's actually had somebody fly down and spend a day with him. I mean, it was amazing. And then we've got a former Warren Buffett CFO. I mean, I think he did like 15 M&As under the Berkshire Hathaway umbrella, and has incredible experience and is a great teacher and also a practitioner. So part of that network. So we just got people like that just are the tip of the iceberg. It's amazing. How accessible they are and how giving, how open they are to pouring into people when they're connected with them.
Awesome. I just think that access is going to be, again, a key differentiator, but also an opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. Again, access to a gentleman, a woman, a person who's done all of the things that you're trying to do or finding the right resource. And so leveraging those resources are just going to be again mind-blowing differentiation, because when you need that experience, it's available at that time.
I also want to add two dimensions to this. One is a lot of the education, wisdom, knowledge gets kind of packaged up into an AI platform that's only available to the regional cohort members, where they can probably get a pretty good cut at anything, even if it's 2 a.m. using this platform, because it's been fed by all these experts in our community already, and we've already processed thousands of experiences with people. But the other piece of that is Dan and Scott, the facilitators, the regional cohort leaders for Minneapolis. They know too, and the point there is A, they can certainly answer a ton of questions, but B, they have access to this toolkit, this platform of experts. So if you come in with a particular dilemma, they can say, I think I can find you the right person. They can be that the conductor of the orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So we're putting together a free informational session, and we're going to make that available in October. So we'll put it out here on LinkedIn and other places. But if you'd like to sign up for to learn more about the regional cohort and the Birthing of Giants program, I think there'll be a URL, I believe, in the chat or
yep,
it's somewhere. There is a URL. And we'll get you signed up and available to kind of learn more, take advantage, and kick off the process. The plan is to kick off the process in January.
And I'll add to that, it's a 90-minute information session, and Dan, Scott, and I'll be there. But also, I'm very, very confident that we can paint a picture in 90 minutes that's going to make you realize that the opportunity to take your company to higher levels is much, much greater than you realized, and the framework for getting there is much less mysterious than you might think it is.
Awesome. And then finally, Chris, why should a business owner attend this information session?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that all the business owners and entrepreneurs I've worked with are intellectually curious, and I can't imagine them not being curious about investing 90 minutes to get in a room with people like them to be, to just be catalyzed to think differently. I mean, this is like, honey for bees, it's just like this content, I think, will really be enriching. And I think it'll, really be in a good way, disruptive, in a good way for people that are growth minded. And everyone who's founded a company is growth minded. And I think they're always looking for ways to get better and to, grow themselves and their company. And I think if they invest the 90 minutes, I think they'll be pleasantly, like Lewis said, I think, surprised that there is a roadmap. You don't have to just kind of grit it out. You don't have to lean harder into it. There's a way to do it, and to be more intentional and not do it alone, to do it with people that are on a journey. Maybe their journey is a little different, but they're probably the few people in the world that can relate to your situation, and not just empathize and sympathize like the neighbors might, but actually go, yeah, I know exactly what that feels like. I've got the scar tissue to prove it. And I'll share my perspective. And when that happens in a room with people like this, it's magical. I mean, just the feeling of not being alone, and the feeling of, hey, there's a way forward. And I think it would be very uplifting.
Yeah, I also have heard from many, many participants that how wonderful it is to be in a room where they don't have to think about everything before they say it. They can just speak the entrepreneur speed, entrepreneur concepts. They don't have to frame it for the audience just ever so slightly because of the way it'll land. And they just go into this hyper, processing mode and get so much done in so little time.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time today, gentlemen, and I look forward to hosting the session, bringing in some great entrepreneur candidates, and sharing why Birthing of Giants will help them become better at being entrepreneurs, help their businesses better, and really focus on how to make their balance sheet kind of a better place too. Awesome.
It's not a scary neighborhood anymore. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Thank you.